Hello, friends. This is Shashi Agarwal Economics and Law Classes. I welcome you all. Today, our topic is land reform, in which we are going to understand the meaning, need, objective, and the abolition of intermediate. If you find my video useful, please do like it and share it, and also subscribe my channel Shashi Agarwal Economics and Law Classes. So this is my app Adusam, which you could download from the Google Play Store. It provides free study material plus free mock test to the students of economics, commerce, and management. And many structure courses they are also available at my app. Indian economy, sectoral development, and policy in India. So now we will check what is the meaning of land. Productivity in agriculture depends upon two things: technological and institutional. Both institution and technology factor plays a vital role in increasing the production of agriculture and raising the standard of living of farmers. Among the technological factors, here when we talk about the technology factors, so it is of using of agriculture inputs and methods like using the high quality seeds, fertilizers, plow, tractors, harvesters, irrigation, etc. It will enhance the productivity even if no land reform were introduced. But when we talk about the institutional factors, they are concerned with land tenure system, land holding, and land distribution. So the reform they are related to the institutional factor. The reform which are related to institutional factor they are known as land reforms. The term land reform is used for all those reforms which are concerned with land ownership and land holding. Land reform implies such institutional changes which turn over ownership of farm to those who actually till the soil. So it means the cultivator ownership is redistributed to the cultivators of the land, and also raising of the size of the farm to make it operationally viable. Land reform means abolition of the intermediary, abolition of the tenancy, bringing of the tenancy reforms. There is a ceiling on land holding and consolidation of land and encouraging the cooperative farming. The purpose of land reform is therefore twofold. First, the objective is to make the rational use of the land which is in limited, which is limited supply. Aim to make rational use of the scarce land resources by affecting conditions of holding, imposing ceiling and floor on holding so that the cultivation can be done in most economical manner, and also redistributing the agricultural land by taking from the jemidar to the less privileged class, and also improving the terms and condition on which land is held for cultivation by the actual tiller with a view to end the exploitation. So when we talk about the land reforms, it is the distributive mayors. And under the distributive mayor, it means the abolishment of intermediary, and the land is distributed to the tillers. Tenancy mayor, regulation of the rent, security of the tenure, ceiling of the land holding. Agrarian reform, agrarian reorganizational mayors, consolidation and cooperative farming. The objective is to increase in the production. According to Planning Commission, the first objective of land reform is to remove all the impediments in the way of increasing agriculture production. So the farmer they should be motivated to produce more uh, because the tiller they till the land and the high rent that is taken by the jimidar, so they are not motivated to increase the production. So here the motivation is to given to them to increase the production. They are the owner of the land, and to end the exploitation of the farmer and promoting the equitable distribution of income. Here the purpose is to develop the agriculture and provide social justice. Economic condition of landless agriculture labor is to be improved so that the economic development of the village is to be done. So, what is the need, or we could say the role of the land reform? Planning Commission has pointed out the following main defect: multiplicity of intermediary, and as the cultivator pays high rent to the intermediary, so he's not having proper funds to bring the improvement on the farm. Cultivators have no incentive to produce more because of high rent due to large scale subdivision and fragmentation of holding. Non applicability of modern and scientific method because he is having less holding. That is why he's not able to use the mechanized method of agriculture. And farmer they are poor because of the low productivity and low production. Revolution has increased the inequality between the rich and poor. It has benefited more the it has benefited rich farmer more. Role of land reform is to provide the incentive to the cultivator. Land tenure system should be such as to enable the tiller of the soil to become the owner, so the production will increase, and there will be planned development. There will be direct contact between the government and the tiller, and to stopping the exploitation of the poor farmer. Increased size of holding and economic position of the farmer will improve. So it provides incentive to the cultivators. Land's tenure system should be such as to enable the tiller of the soil to become the owner of the land, and the effort should be made to increase the production. And due to land reform, there will be direct relation between the government and the farmer. And the poor farmer, they will be earlier they were exploited by the jimidar system, so it will be the stopping of the exploitation. And as the size of holding will increase, and the economic position of the farmer will also improve. So, what is the scope of the land reform? The land reform aims at redistributing ownership holding from the viewpoint of social justice and reorganizing the operational holding so that the farmer could use the mechanized system of doing the cultivation. It also aims at providing the security of the tenure, fixation of rent, and conferment of ownership. The entire concept of the land reform aim at abolishment of intermediary, bringing the actual cultivator in the direct contact with the state. The scope of the land reform covers the abolition of intermediary, tenancy reform, regulation of the rent, security of the tenure for the tenant, and conferment of ownership on them, ceiling and floor on landholding, agrarian reorganization, including the consolidation of holding, prevention of subdivision and fragmentation, organization of cooperative farms. Land reform measures are aimed at elevating the rural poverty in the following manner. Because the landless labor will get the land by providing the security of tenure and ownership right to the tenants and sharecropper, and by regulating the rent payable by them to the shareholders, by protecting the interest of tribal in land and preventing the non-tribal to encroach upon the tribal land, by providing consolidation of holding to improve the size of operational holding. So in this way the farmer could raise the productivity, by development of public land, providing better access to the rural poor to obtain fuel wood and fodder, by protecting homestead, by providing consolidation of holding to improve the size of operational holding, thereby paying the way to raise productivity, by development of public land, by providing better access to the rural poor to obtain fuel woods and fodder, by providing access to women to land and other productive assets, by protecting homestead right of the rural poor on the land owned by them, providing them with the house sites to enable them to construct residential houses. So main land reforms are abolition of zemindari, tenancy reform, ceiling on landholding, consolidation of landholding, cooperative farming, up to the date land records and Bhudan movements. So now we will focus on a portion of the intermediary. Under the chairmanship of J.C. Kumarappa, a committee was formed to investigate the land issue, recommended broad agrarian reform in its report, the abolition of intermediary, tenancy reform, fixed ceiling on landholding, consolidation of land holding. So, if we talk about the abolition of intermediary, various category of land tenure system before the independence, Jimedari, Mahalwari, and Ryotwari. So, under the Jimedari tenure that was introduced by the Lord Cornwallis in 1793 in Bengal, land was held by one person or at most of the few owners who were responsible for the payment of land revenue. The system was introduced by the East India Company. Various forms of tenure such as Jemidar, Jagirdari, Inamdari, and princely states they were artificially created. So the purpose was the Jemidari was to collect the revenue. Later on, their status was raised to the status of landowners. Settlements were of two types: permanent settlement, fixed land revenue in perpetuity. It was prevalent in Bengal, North Madras, and Banaras. Temporary settlement, just for the namesake, it is temporary settlement. Land revenue were assessed of a period of ranging from 20 to 40 years. It was subject to revision. It was affected with the remaining Jimidar of Bengal, Talukdar, and but with this state and actual dealer, there grew an intermediary who was interested in land only to the section of high rent. Jimidar village, they were divided into two agriculture classes, the absentee owners who exploited the actual tillers and non-owner cultivators. So Indian agriculture was reduced to the form of subsistence farming. Mahalwari tenure. Under the Mahalwari tenure, the village land was jointly owned by the village community, the member of which were jointly and severally responsible for the payment of land revenue. It was introduced in Agra, Oudh, and later in Punjab. Under the system, the village common or shamlat is the property of the village community as a whole. Similarly, wasteland also belong to the village community. It is free to rent out and divide the rent among the member of the community or partition it to bring under cultivation without any permission of the government. The system is the product of Muslim tradition and development. A certain sum was assessed as land revenue for the whole village, for which the whole body of kosher are jointly and severally responsible. The village Lambardar collected revenue, for which he received commission 5%. Ryotwari system land may be held in single independent holding. The individual holder, they were directly responsible for the state for the payment of land revenue. The first Jodhpuri settlement was made in 1972. It was the product of Hindu tradition. It was present in Bombay, Brar, and Central Asia. The Ryot is at liberty. He can further sublet his land, enjoy the permanent right of tenancy as long as he pays the land revenue. After the post-independence, under the chairmanship of J.C. Kumarappa, a committee was formed to investigate the land issue, and it recommended broad agrarian reform in its report. The abolition of intermediary, tenancy reform, fixed ceiling on landholding, consolidation of landholding. Only aim of Jimidar was to exploit the farmer and charge high rent. So Indian agriculture was backward and it was reduced to subsistence farming. Due to the defects of the Jamindar system, the abolition became inevitable. At the time of independence of the country, 40% of the land was under this system. After independence, legislation of the abolition of Jimidar system, different states were passed. The first act meant for abolishing Jimidar system was passed in 1950 in Bihar. It was followed by Uttar Pradesh in 1952 and subsequently in all the states. So these are the characteristic of the Jamindari abortion legislation. Except in Jammu and these are the feature of Jamindari abortion system reform. Except in Jammu and Kashmir, land has been taken from the Jamindar and they were paid compensation. The ownership rights they were abolished. More than 2 crore farmers they have come into direct contact with the government. In some cases, the compensation was paid in the form of bonds. A fund called Jamidar Abolishment Fund was created for making payment of the bond, and the period of bond varies between 10 to 30 years. The land was taken from the Jamidar and it has been given to the farmer who used to cultivate it. The later were now called Bhumidar. Those cultivators who wanted to acquire the ownership right on the land were called upon to pay the government a given multiple of the rent that they used to pay to the Jamidar. Common land of the village, such as the wasteland, grazing land, which was previously owned by the Jimidari, now under the ownership of the government, the land was handed over to the village panchayat. Exemption from the self cultivation land, which was cultivated by the Jimidari himself, has been left with him. And the abolishment of the Jimidari, now the cultivator is the responsible for the payment of the land revenue to the government. So, what are the effects of Jamindari abortion? It was the end of intermediary. Now, the tiller is in direct contact with the government. So, there is no exploitation, and the uh, farmer got the relief, and he has become the owner of the land. Now, he has the motivation to produce more. The common land is handed to the government to village panchayat for the collective benefit of the villagers. So, it will give the motivation and insanity of the tiller to produce more. It was an important step toward the land reform in the country, due to the which now farmers have direct contact with the government. 1730 lakh hectare of land was acquired from the intermediary, due to which 2 crore tenants they were brought into direct relation with the government. Government not only collect land revenue but also promote the welfare of the farmer and also adopt such policy to increase the agriculture production. But it has some bad effect also. Jimidari took advantages of the provision of self cultivation and they have evicted the tenant from the land on the plea of this. So Jimidari could not be abolished at fully. According to state government between 1947 and 1956, all intermediaries were abolished, but as a matter of fact, only legislation have been enacted. There were so many loopholes which created difficulty